The Korvaxi Empire had been conquering worlds for 10 years. Their fleet was the strongest in the galaxy. Everyone knew about their power. Everyone feared them. 47 star systems had fallen to their ships. 47 civilizations now served the Empire as slaves. The Korvaxi warships were massive and deadly. They carried weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Their shields had never been broken. Their plasma cannons could melt through any armor. When the Korvaxi arrived at a planet, that planet had two choices: surrender or die. Most chose to surrender. Grand Admiral Zethros commanded the invasion fleet. He sat in his command chair aboard the Eternal Dominion, the largest warship ever built. The ship was so huge that people on planets could see it in their sky like a second moon. Zethros had conquered 12 worlds personally. He had never lost a battle. He did not plan to start losing now. Earth was next on his list. The Korvaxi had sent their message to Earth 3 days ago. The message was simple and direct. Surrender in 1 day or we will destroy you. We will kill your leaders. We will enslave your people. We will take everything you have. This is your only warning. Earth had not responded. Zethros smiled at this. He had seen this before. Some species were too proud to surrender quickly. They needed to see the fleet first. They needed to understand how hopeless their situation was. Then they would beg to surrender. It always happened the same way. His sensors showed Earth's defenses: a few orbital platforms, some primitive nuclear missiles, a handful of defense satellites. The Korvaxi computers calculated that Earth's military could resist for about 14 minutes. Some of the other commanders were betting on the exact time. Zethros had bet on 12 minutes. He was usually right about these things. 3,000 Korvaxi warships moved through space toward Earth. They held perfect formation. Each ship knew its place. Each captain knew his job. They had done this 47 times before. This would be conquest number 48. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, Commander Daniel Hayes watched his screens. The operations center was buried 3 miles underground. It had been built in secret over 30 years. Nobody outside Earth's military knew it existed. The room was filled with officers sitting at computer stations. Everyone was calm. Everyone knew what to do. Captain Lisa Morgan stood next to Hayes. She was looking at the tactical display. The red dots representing enemy ships were getting closer. 3,000 red dots. It looked like a cloud of blood moving toward their planet. "They are at the outer marker," said Lieutenant Jake Phillips. He was young but very good at his job. "They are holding their standard formation. They think this will be easy." Hayes nodded but said nothing yet. He was watching the numbers change on his screen. Distance, speed, formation patterns. Everything was being recorded. Everything was being analyzed. The Korvaxi had studied Earth for months before sending their fleet. They had used long-range scanners to look at human technology. They saw what they expected to see: chemical rockets, nuclear weapons, simple satellites, primitive computers. The Korvaxi analysis said humans were at least 500 years behind Korvaxi technology. What the Korvaxi did not see was the truth. For 30 years, Earth had been building weapons in secret. The quantum disruption generators were hidden in asteroids. The relativistic kill vehicles were stored in dark areas of space where scanners could not find them. The gravity well projectors were powered down completely, making them invisible. Everything that could win a war was hidden. Everything that looked primitive was left visible. Earth's leaders had studied every species that fell to the Korvaxi. They watched recordings of those battles. They learned from those mistakes. They understood one simple truth: the Korvaxi always underestimated their enemies. Pride made them careless. Arrogance made them predictable. So Earth built a trap. Major Eric Stone was coordinating defense stations all across the solar system. He had teams on the moon. He had teams in the asteroid belt. He had teams on Mars and on the moons of Jupiter. Every team was ready. Every weapon was aimed. Every finger was on every trigger. "All stations report ready," said Lieutenant Amy Carter. Her voice was steady and calm. "We have targeting solutions for all 3,000 enemy ships." Hayes looked at the main screen. The Korvaxi fleet was exactly where Earth needed them to be. They had passed the point where they could easily retreat. They were committed to their attack pattern. Their shields were up. Their weapons were charging. They were preparing to show Earth the power of the Korvaxi Empire. They were about to learn something new. Captain Kevin, Shaw was watching from Tranquility Base on the moon. He could see the Korvaxi fleet with his own eyes now. They looked like stars, but moving stars. Stars that wanted to kill everyone on Earth. Estimated time to weapons range, Shaw said into his communicator. 4 minutes. Hayes heard this and checked his countdown timer. 4 minutes until the Korvaxi thought they would be close enough to start destroying Earth's defenses. 4 minutes until they learned they had made the biggest mistake of their lives. The room was quiet now. Everyone was waiting. Some people were afraid. Some were excited. But everyone believed in the plan. Earth had spent 3 decades preparing for this moment. They had built weapons the galaxy had never seen before. They had created tactics that no enemy would expect. The Korvaxi saw humans as primitives. They saw Earth as weak. They thought this would be another easy victory. They had no idea that humans had been studying war for thousands of years. Every human civilization had fought wars. Humans understood violence at a deep level. They knew how to kill efficiently. They knew how to hide their strength. They knew how to wait for the perfect moment. And the perfect moment was coming. 3 minutes to their weapons range, reported Phillips. Hayes stood up from his chair. He looked around at all the men and women in the operations center. These people had trained for this day. They had practiced the plan hundreds of times. They knew every step. They knew every backup plan. They were ready. The Korvaxi think we are weak, Hayes said quietly. They think we will break easily. They have done this 47 times and won every time. They believe they cannot lose. He paused and looked at the screen showing the approaching fleet. They are wrong. Today, Earth shows the galaxy who we really are. Today, we teach the bullies of space a lesson they will never forget. Today, humanity stops being the victim. Hayes sat back down and put his hand on the control panel. All stations, this is Commander Hayes. Activate Protocol Sentinel. Execute on my mark. The countdown timer reached 0. Execute now. The first thing that went wrong for the Korvaxi was their shields. Grand Admiral Zethros was reviewing his battle plan when alarms started screaming throughout his ship. He looked at his display screen and saw something impossible. The shields on his ships were flickering. The energy readings were going crazy. What is happening? Zethros shouted at his crew. Before anyone could answer, the quantum disruption field hit the fleet. The humans had discovered something important about shield technology. Every species in the galaxy used shields that worked on similar principles. They all used the same basic physics. And if you understood those principles well enough, you could create a weapon that turned shields into a death trap. The quantum disruptors did not break through the shields. They did something much worse. They reversed the shield energy and made it collapse inward. The shields that were supposed to protect the Korvaxi ships suddenly crushed them instead. In 30 seconds, 400 Korvaxi warships were destroyed by their own defensive systems. The massive ships crumpled like paper being squeezed in a fist. Metal screamed. Hulls split apart. Thousands of Korvaxi died before they understood what was killing them. Zethros watched in horror as his fleet began to die. Colonel Ryan Bennett was watching from Mars Command. He saw the quantum disruptors working perfectly. 400 enemy ships were gone. 2,600 remained. It was a good start, but the battle was not over. Deploy the relativistic kill vehicles, Bennett ordered. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, fire. The RKVs launched from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They were simple weapons, just long rods of tungsten metal, but they were accelerated to 95% of light speed. At that speed, they did not need explosives. The kinetic energy alone was enough to destroy anything they hit. When an RKV struck a Korvaxi warship, the ship simply stopped existing. The impact released energy equal to multiple nuclear bombs compressed into a microsecond. The ship turned into vapor and scattered atoms. There was no explosion. There was no debris. One moment the ship was there. The next moment there was nothing but a flash of light. The Korvaxi fleet was clustered together in their invasion formation. This was normal tactics for them. Stay together. Support each other. Show strength through numbers. But against the RKVs, clustering together was a fatal mistake. The relativistic weapons tore through the fleet like bullets through tissue paper. Ship after ship vanished in bursts of intense energy. The Korvaxi captains tried to scatter. They tried to evade. But at 95% of light speed, there was no evading. By the time their sensors detected an RKV, it had already hit them. Captain Kevin Shaw watched from Tranquility Base on the moon. He was counting the hits. Each flash of light was another enemy ship destroyed. The flashes came so fast they looked like fireworks. Deadly efficient fireworks. Second wave weapons ready, Shaw reported. Activating gravity well generators. This was Earth's masterpiece weapon. The gravity well generators could create localized distortions in spacetime itself. They could make artificial gravity so strong it would crush anything nearby. The scientists who built them called it weaponized physics. The gravity weapons targeted the largest Korvaxi ships. These were the command vessels. The ships that carried admirals and generals. The ships that coordinated the fleet. Earth wanted those ships destroyed first. The effect was immediate and terrible. The massive Korvaxi command ships suddenly experienced gravity thousands of times stronger than normal. Their own mass became their enemy. The ships began to collapse from the inside. Metal bent. Decks pancaked together. Structural support snapped like dry wood. Grand Admiral Zethros felt his ship shuddering. The Eternal Dominion was the pride of the Korvaxi fleet. It was supposed to be indestructible, but now the floor was tilting. The walls were bending. He could hear metal screaming throughout the vessel. In his final moments, Zethros understood the truth. The humans were not primitives. They were not weak. They were apex predators who had been waiting and watching. They had studied the Korvaxi. They had learned everything about Korvaxi tactics, and they had built the perfect weapons to counter every Korvaxi strength. The Eternal Dominion broke apart. Zethros died knowing that his empire had made a terrible, fatal mistake. Commander Daniel Hayes watched the tactical display. 2 minutes had passed since the battle started. Of 3,000 Korvaxi warships, fewer than 800 were still functional. The rest were destroyed or badly damaged. The surviving Korvaxi ships were trying to retreat now. They were breaking formation. They were running in every direction. Some were trying to jump to faster than light speed. Others were just flying away as fast as their engines could push them. Hayes had planned for this too. Deploy the drone swarms, he ordered. From hidden bases throughout the solar system, clouds of small combat drones launched. There were millions of them. Each drone was about the size of a football. Each one carried a small explosive charge. Each one had an artificial intelligence that could think and adapt faster than any living pilot. The drones moved like a swarm of insects. They surrounded the retreating Korvaxi ships and attacked from every angle at once. The Korvaxi point defense weapons tried to shoot them down. They destroyed hundreds of drones, thousands of drones. But there were millions more. The drones were too small and too numerous. They overwhelmed every defense. They found weak points in armor. They targeted engine ports and weapon systems. They worked together with perfect coordination. Lieutenant Amy Carter was monitoring the drone swarms. She watched as they tore apart the retreating Korvaxi ships piece by piece. It was not quick. It was not clean, but it was absolutely effective. Enemy fleet cohesion at 15%, Carter reported. They are scattered. No organized resistance remaining. Hayes nodded. Continue engagement. No survivors. No one escapes to report what happened here. Major Eric Stone understood why this order was necessary. If even one Korvaxi ship escaped, it would tell the Empire what Earth could do. The Empire would prepare. They would adapt. The next battle would be harder, but if no ships escaped, the Empire would not know what killed their fleet. They would not know Earth's capabilities. They would make the same mistakes again. Captain Lisa Morgan felt uncomfortable with the order to kill everyone. But she understood it was necessary. The Korvaxi had not come to negotiate. They had come to enslave or kill. Earth was simply finishing what the Korvaxi started. The battle continued for 2 more minutes. The drones hunted down every remaining Korvaxi vessel. Some ships tried to surrender. They broadcast messages begging for mercy. Hayes ignored these messages. The Korvaxi had not offered mercy to 47 other civilizations. Earth would not offer mercy now. At 4 minutes and 37 seconds after the battle began, the last Korvaxi warship was destroyed. The solar system was silent. 3,000 warships had entered Earth's territory. 3,000 warships were now nothing but scattered debris and fading energy signatures. Earth had not lost a single ship. Not one defense platform had been damaged. Not one person had been injured. The Korvaxi had never even gotten close enough to fire their weapons at Earth. It was a perfect victory. Hayes stood in the operations center and looked at the empty tactical display. Where there had been 3,000 red dots, there was now nothing. Casualty report, he said quietly. 0 casualties on our side, reported Carter. Estimated Korvaxi casualties are approximately 75,000 personnel. 75,000 lives ended in less than 5 minutes. Hayes felt the weight of that number, but he did not regret the decision. The Korvaxi had forced this battle. They had threatened Earth with extinction. They had killed countless beings on 47 other worlds. Begin Phase 2, Hayes ordered. Prepare the message for galactic broadcast. The galaxy needs to know what happened here today. The battle was over. The Korvaxi fleet was destroyed. Now came the next challenge. Commander Daniel Hayes stood in the operations center and looked at his team. They had won the battle perfectly. Not a single human casualty. Not one damaged defense platform. But winning a battle and winning a war were different things. Captain Lisa Morgan brought Hayes a data pad with the battle statistics. Complete victory, she said. Every Korvaxi ship destroyed. Our weapons performed better than expected. Hayes took the pad but did not look at it. He was thinking about what came next. The Korvaxi Empire controls 47 star systems. They have colonies on hundreds of planets. When they learn their invasion fleet disappeared, they will send another fleet, probably bigger. Morgan nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. We need to control the narrative. We need to tell our story before someone else tells it for us. That was the problem. Earth had just destroyed 3,000 warships in less than 5 minutes. The galaxy would hear about this, but what would they hear? Would they hear that Earth defended itself against invasion, or would they hear that humans were dangerous killers who destroyed an entire fleet? Major Eric Stone was working with the communications team. They were preparing a message that would be broadcast to every inhabited star system within 50 light years. The message needed to be careful. It needed to be clear. It needed to show strength without looking threatening. We should include the full sensor recordings, Stone suggested. Show them exactly what happened. Let them see that the Korvaxi came to invade us. Let them see that we only defended ourselves. Hayes agreed. Add the tactical analysis too. Show them how we won. We want the galaxy to understand that Earth has power, real power, but we only use it when threatened. Lieutenant Jake Phillips was monitoring communications channels. Already Earth was receiving messages from other species. Some were asking questions. Some were offering congratulations. Some were making threats. And some were asking for help. Sir, we have received over 300 messages in the last hour, Phillips reported. Some species are afraid of us now. Others want to be our allies, and several species currently under Korvaxi control are asking if we can help them gain independence. This was the difficult part. Earth had proven it could fight. Now Earth needed to show it could think. The galaxy was complex. Every action would have consequences. Every choice would create ripples. Hayes called a strategy meeting with his senior officers. They needed to make decisions about Earth's future role in galactic affairs. The Korvaxi Empire is going to respond, Hayes said to the group. The question is how we want to shape that response. Do we wait for them to come to us again? Do we take the fight to them? Or do we try to negotiate? Colonel Ryan Bennett spoke up. If we do nothing, we look weak. The galaxy will think we got lucky once, but if we attack them first, we look like aggressors. We become the thing we just fought against. Captain Kevin Shaw joined the meeting by video link from the moon. We should use our victory to build alliances, show other species that aligning with Earth means protection, give them an alternative to either serving the Korvaxi or fighting alone. Morgan agreed with this approach. We offer a simple deal. Respect our sovereignty and we respect yours. Trade fairly with us and we trade fairly with you, but threaten us or our allies and you see what happens. It was a good strategy. Simple, clear, easy for other species to understand. Earth was not looking to conquer anyone. But Earth would not be conquered either. The message was finished 3 hours after the battle ended. It included full recordings of the Korvaxi attack. It showed the Korvaxi ultimatum demanding surrender. It showed the battle from multiple angles. The message made one thing very clear. Earth did not start this fight, but Earth finished it decisively. The second part of the message was an offer. Earth was willing to establish diplomatic relations with any species that approached peacefully. Earth was interested in trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense agreements. Earth wanted friends, not subjects. The message was broadcast across dozens of star systems. Within hours, it was being discussed on thousands of worlds. Some species were impressed. Some were afraid. Some were hopeful. The message was exactly what Hayes wanted. It made Earth look strong but reasonable. Lieutenant Amy Carter compiled the initial responses from other civilizations. We are getting positive responses from species that have maintained independence from the major empires. The Viridian Collective wants to open formal communications. The Halcyon Federation is interested in trade talks. The Zephyr communes are asking about defensive technology sharing. This was good news. These were respected civilizations that had stayed neutral in galactic conflicts. If Earth could build relationships with them, it would legitimize humanity's position. But there was other news too. Less positive news. The Korvaxi homeworld has gone silent, Phillips reported. No official communications. But we are picking up increased military chatter. They are pulling ships from garrison duty across their empire. It looks like they are preparing a response. Hayes had expected this. No empire would accept the destruction of an entire invasion fleet without reacting. The Korvaxi would come again. The question was when and with how many ships. Start preparing for round 2, Hayes ordered. But this time we need to think about the aftermath. If we destroy another Korvaxi fleet, their empire might collapse completely. That could create a power vacuum. Pirates, warlords, and other empires might move in to grab Korvaxi territory. That could mean chaos for dozens of star systems. This was the problem with being powerful. Actions had consequences. Earth could destroy fleets easily. But destruction was simple compared to building something stable afterward. Morgan was thinking about the bigger picture. We should send diplomatic missions to key civilizations. Show them that humans are not just warriors. Show them we can talk as well as fight. Hayes agreed. Lisa, you will lead the first diplomatic mission. Take a small team to the Viridian Collective. They are the most influential neutral power. If we can establish good relations with them, other species will follow. Morgan accepted the assignment. She knew it would be challenging. She would be representing all of humanity to alien civilizations. She would be showing the galaxy what humans were really like. It was a huge responsibility. Over the next 3 weeks, the effects of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. The Korvaxi Empire was in chaos. 5 of their subject species openly rebelled. They had seen what happened to the invasion fleet. They understood that the Korvaxi military was not invincible. If humans could defeat the Korvaxi, maybe they could too. Trade routes that had been controlled by Korvaxi warships for decades suddenly saw independent merchant ships operating freely. Pirates who had avoided Korvaxi space became bolder. The rigid order the Empire had imposed was breaking down. Stone monitored these developments carefully. The Korvaxi Empire is fracturing faster than we anticipated. Their subject species see weakness now. Some are asking us for military support against their Korvaxi occupiers. This was a trap Earth needed to avoid. If humans started liberating Korvaxi colonies, they would become the new occupiers. The liberated species would trade one master for another. Earth would become the thing it fought against. We offer moral support and diplomatic recognition, Hayes decided, but we do not send troops. These species need to free themselves. We can give them hope and inspiration, but not soldiers. If they win freedom because we gave it to them, they did not really win freedom. It was a hard decision. Earth had the power to free dozens of oppressed civilizations. But power had to be used wisely. Sometimes the best use of power was choosing not to use it. Captain Lisa Morgan prepared for her diplomatic mission. She studied Viridian culture. She learned their customs. She practiced their greetings. When she finally boarded the ship that would take her to the Viridian homeworld, she felt ready but nervous. She would be the first human most of these aliens had ever seen. She needed to make a good impression. Captain Lisa Morgan stood before the Viridian Council. The council chamber was enormous, designed for beings much larger than humans. The Viridians themselves were tall and covered in crystalline scales that reflected light in rainbow patterns. They were beautiful and intimidating at the same time. Morgan wore her dress uniform. She stood straight and calm even though she was nervous. She was the first human these beings had ever met in person. Everything she did and said would shape how they viewed all of humanity. The council speaker addressed her in translated speech. The translation device made the alien words sound smooth and formal. Captain Morgan of Earth, you come from a species that destroyed 3,000 warships in minutes. You claim to come in peace. Why should we believe you? Morgan had prepared for this question. Because we could have kept our power secret. We could have hidden what we did. Instead, we broadcast the recordings to everyone. We showed you our weapons. We showed you our capabilities. Why would we do that if we plan to conquer you? Conquerors rely on surprise. We chose transparency. The Viridians consulted among themselves in their own language. Morgan waited patiently. She knew this was a test. They wanted to see if she would get nervous or impatient. She remained calm. Finally, the speaker addressed her again. Your logic is sound, but power corrupts. Today you seek friendship. Tomorrow you might seek dominion. How can we trust that Earth will remain peaceful as it becomes more powerful? Morgan nodded. This was the real question. We cannot give you absolute certainty, but we can point to our history. Humans have fought each other for thousands of years. We learned hard lessons about war and peace. We learned that conquest creates resentment. We learned that the strongest empires eventually fall. We do not want to build an empire. We want to build partnerships, she continued. Earth offers a simple relationship. We respect your sovereignty completely. We do not tell you how to govern yourselves. We do not demand tribute or military service. What we offer is mutual defense. If someone attacks you, we consider it an attack on us. If someone attacks us, we hope you would stand with us. But the choice is always yours. Another council member spoke. This one had darker scales and a deeper voice. What do you want from us in return for this protection? Friendship, Morgan answered simply. Trade on fair terms. Cultural exchange. Scientific cooperation where our interests align. We want to learn from you and share what we know, but we will never force you to give us anything. The Viridians discussed this for several minutes. Morgan noticed that they seemed genuinely interested. They were not dismissing her out of hand. They were taking the offer seriously. Back on Earth, Commander Daniel Hayes was dealing with a different problem. Intelligence had confirmed that the Korvaxi were assembling another fleet. This one was much larger than the first. 7,000 warships. It was almost every military vessel the Korvaxi Empire had available. Major Eric Stone showed Hayes the tracking data. They are pulling ships from everywhere. Colony Defense Forces, border patrols, garrison units. They are committing everything to this attack. Hayes studied the fleet composition. They learned some lessons from the first battle. Look at their formation. They are much more spread out now. They modified their shield frequencies. They are taking us seriously. Lieutenant Jake Phillips added more information. Analysis suggests they think they have figured out our quantum disruptors. They believe the modified shields will protect them. Hayes smiled slightly. Let them believe that. Confidence makes people careless. What is their estimated arrival time? 6 weeks, Stone answered. They are moving slower than the first fleet. More cautious, 6 weeks gave Earth time to prepare, but it also gave Earth time to think about what came after the battle. Destroying 7,000 ships would effectively destroy the Korvaxi Empire as a military power. The power vacuum would be enormous. Colonel Ryan Bennett joined the strategy meeting. We need to think about the day after we win. If the Korvaxi Empire collapses completely, dozens of their subject species will declare independence. Some will fight each other over territory. Pirates and warlords will move in. It could be chaos for years, Hayes nodded. This was the problem with overwhelming power. Winning battles was easy. Building stable peace afterward was much harder. We need allies before the second battle happens, Hayes decided. We need other species that can help maintain order after the Korvaxi fall. Species with moral authority and diplomatic experience. That was why Morgan's mission to the Viridians was so important. The Viridian Collective was respected throughout the galaxy. They had stayed neutral in most conflicts. If they aligned with Earth, other neutral species might follow. Lieutenant Amy Carter brought news from the communications department. We have received formal diplomatic requests from 17 species. 8 of them are currently part of the Korvaxi Empire. They want to know if we will recognize their independence. This was a delicate situation. If Earth recognized their independence now before the second battle, it would be seen as an act of war against the Korvaxi. But if Earth waited, these species might think humans did not really care about freedom. Tell them we support their right to self-determination, Hayes said carefully. We recognize their inherent independence as sentient beings. But we cannot provide military support until they take concrete steps to free themselves. We will not fight their revolution for them. It was a diplomatic answer that said everything and nothing. It gave the rebelling species moral support without committing Earth to military action. On the Viridian homeworld, Morgan received an answer from the Council. The speaker addressed her formally. We have decided to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. We will exchange ambassadors. We will explore trade opportunities. But we are not ready to commit to a mutual defense agreement. We need to see how Earth handles its conflict with the Korvaxi before we make such a commitment. Morgan accepted this. It was not everything Earth wanted, but it was a good start. We understand your caution. We hope that our actions will prove our good intentions over time. The speaker smiled, which looked strange on an alien face covered in crystalline scales. We hope so too, Captain Morgan. The galaxy needs a powerful species that uses power wisely. We have had too many bullies for too long. Morgan returned to Earth 3 weeks after leaving. She reported directly to Hayes about her mission. The Viridians are interested but cautious. They want to see how we handle the second Korvaxi attack. If we show restraint and wisdom, they will likely agree to a formal alliance. Hayes understood. So we need to win the next battle without looking like monsters. We need to show power and mercy at the same time. That will be difficult, Morgan agreed. We could destroy the second fleet as easily as we destroyed the first. But that would make us look like killers. We need a different approach. Stone had an idea. What if we disable their ships instead of destroying them? Show them we can win without slaughtering everyone? Force them to surrender rather than fight to the death? It was risky. Disabled ships could potentially repair themselves and fight again. But it would send a powerful message to the galaxy. Earth was strong enough to show mercy. Hayes thought about it carefully. We will disable their command ships and force the fleet to surrender. But if they refuse or continue fighting, we destroy them completely. We offer mercy once. Only once the team agreed this was the best approach. Now they had to plan how to execute it. The second battle would be much more complex than the first. But if they succeeded, Earth would establish itself as a power that could be feared and respected. The second Korvaxi fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 7,000 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were spread out in a loose formation, learning from the mistakes of the first fleet. Their shields were modified. Their weapons were ready. They believed they understood what went wrong before and had adapted. Supreme Commander Thrax led this fleet. He was older than Grand Admiral Zethros had been, more experienced, more careful. He had studied the recordings of the first battle hundreds of times. He had analyzed every detail. He thought he knew what the humans would do. He was wrong, but not in the way he expected. Commander Daniel Hayes watched from the operations center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, his team monitored the approaching fleet. But this time there were observers in the room. Diplomatic representatives from the Viridian Collective, the Halcyon Federation, and 10 other species. Earth had invited them to witness what humanity could do, and how humanity chose to use its power. They modified their shield frequencies, reported Lieutenant Jake Phillips. They think it will protect them from our quantum disruptors. Captain Lisa Morgan stood beside Hayes. She had returned from her diplomatic mission just 2 days ago. They scattered their formation too. They are taking us seriously now. Hayes nodded. This was good. An enemy that underestimated you was easy to defeat, but an enemy that respected you was an enemy you could negotiate with. Open a communication channel to their flagship, Hayes ordered. This was something Earth had not done during the first battle. No warning, no communication, just sudden overwhelming violence. But this time needed to be different. Supreme Commander Thrax appeared on the view screen. He was a large reptilian being with scarred scales and cold eyes. He looked like someone who had seen many battles and won most of them. Hayes spoke first. His words were transmitted not just to Thrax but broadcast across the galaxy. Earth wanted everyone to hear this. Supreme Commander, you are approaching Earth's sovereign space with hostile intent. This is your single opportunity to withdraw peacefully. We destroyed your first fleet because they gave us no choice. We do not want to destroy you too. But we will defend ourselves and our allies without hesitation if you force us to. Thrax's expression showed contempt. His translator made his response clear. You ambushed one fleet with tricks and cowardice. Now you face the full military might of the Korvaxi Empire. Your primitive planet will burn. Your people will serve us as slaves. This is your last chance to surrender and accept merciful treatment. Hayes looked at Major Eric Stone and nodded. Everything was ready. I am sorry you feel that way, Commander. We will make this quick. The quantum disruption field activated, but differently than before. Instead of crushing every ship, it was precisely targeted. The field affected only the command vessels scattered throughout the Korvaxi formation. About 300 ships. The shields on those specific ships collapsed. Before Thrax could react, the gravity pulse weapons activated. But again, they were used precisely. The command ships were locked in place, unable to move but not crushed or destroyed. They were held in invisible cages of twisted spacetime. "You have 300 of your command ships held in stasis," Hayes announced calmly. "They are undamaged but completely immobilized. Your fleet is now without coordination or leadership. Your remaining ships can try to fight if they choose, but without proper command structure, they will be destroyed individually. Or you can order them to stand down and we can discuss terms. The choice is yours." It was brilliant psychological warfare. Earth had proven it could have destroyed the entire fleet instantly. The fact that the command ships were merely held rather than obliterated showed both power and restraint. The Korvaxi forces found themselves in an impossible position. The alien observers in the operations center watched with fascination. The Viridian representative whispered to Morgan, "Your species understands warfare at a sophisticated level. You fight not just with weapons but with psychology." Supreme Commander Thrax was no fool. He understood the situation immediately. His fleet was paralyzed. Earth had demonstrated it could destroy them but chose not to. Fighting now would only result in pointless death. Retreating was impossible with his command ship locked in place. He had one option left. "I order all Korvaxi forces to stand down," Thrax said slowly. The words clearly pained him. "We agreed to negotiate." Hayes allowed himself a small smile. "Wise decision, Commander. Lower your weapons and prepare to be escorted to neutral territory for talks." Colonel Ryan Bennett coordinated the next phase. Earth's defense forces carefully surrounded the Korvaxi fleet. They maintained targeting solutions on every ship but did not fire. The message was clear. Earth could destroy them at any moment but was choosing peace instead. The journey to the neutral zone took 12 hours. During that time, diplomatic channels were working frantically. Species throughout the galaxy were discussing what they had witnessed. Earth had defeated a second Korvaxi fleet, but this time without massive slaughter. This time with precision and control. The negotiations lasted 3 days. Earth's terms were straightforward. The Korvaxi Empire would recognize humanity's sovereignty. They would recognize the sovereignty of any species that chose to align with Earth. They would stop their aggressive expansion and exploitation of subject species. In return, Earth would not attack Korvaxi territory. The captured command ships would be released unharmed. Earth would not interfere with Korvaxi internal affairs as long as the Empire stopped trying to conquer others. It was a fair deal. It allowed the Korvaxi to save face while fundamentally changing the balance of power in the galaxy. Captain Kevin Shaw watched the treaty signing from Tranquility Base on the moon. He had been ready to unleash devastating weapons. Instead, he watched diplomacy triumph. It felt strange but good. Lieutenant Amy Carter compiled reports from across the galaxy. 17 species have formally requested diplomatic relations with Earth. 8 of them were Korvaxi subjects who are now declaring independence. The Viridian Collective has agreed to a mutual defense treaty, so have the Halcyon Federation and the Zephyr Communes. Commander Hayes reviewed the data carefully. Earth had positioned itself perfectly. Not as conquerors, but as a powerful defender that others could align with voluntarily. Species could choose to work with Earth or stay neutral, but they could not threaten Earth without facing consequences. The treaty ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Supreme Commander Thrax signed the documents with obvious reluctance. His expression showed bitter acceptance. He had met his match and knew it, but there was something else in his expression too. A grudging respect. Earth could have humiliated him completely. They could have destroyed his fleet and paraded him as a defeated enemy. Instead, they offered him an honorable peace. As the Korvaxi fleet departed under escort, heading back to their territory under the new treaty terms, Morgan stood with Hayes watching the viewscreen. "We changed everything," she said quietly. Hayes nodded. "We proved that strength does not require cruelty. That power can be used responsibly. Now we just have to maintain that standard. The galaxy will be watching everything we do from now on." Earth's defense platforms remained active. The weapons that had proven so devastating remained ready. But humanity had learned to balance force with wisdom. They had shown the galaxy that they could destroy enemies easily, but preferred to make friends instead. The Korvaxi Empire still existed but was greatly reduced. Their subject species were gaining independence. Trade routes that had been controlled by force were opening to free commerce. The galaxy was changing, and Earth stood at the center of that change. The defense platforms that had laid in wait had done their job perfectly. The Imperial fleet had fallen in minutes during the first battle. But the second battle, the battle where Earth chose mercy over massacre, was the one that truly mattered. The age of empires built on conquest was ending. The age of coalitions built on mutual respect was beginning. Earth, the planet dismissed as primitive just months ago, now stood as the example others would follow. The weapons remained ready. The defenses remained strong. But Earth had proven something more important than military might. They had proven they deserved the power they possessed. They had shown wisdom alongside strength, and the galaxy, tired of bullies and tyrants, was ready for something different. Ready for a future where power protected rather than oppressed. Ready for the new order that humanity was helping to build.